going a little bit slowly, but that is the first in a sea of technical glitches that you would see on a regular episode of Wrestle-Talk with John Drew. Coming off the heels of a very good Raw. And what were your impressions of this week's Raw, Drew?
I really like that they're pretty pushing Evan Bourne with the Mysterio and Kane feud, because I think he could make a good part of that.
Well, I think that Evan Bourne and Rey Mysterio could make great tag team partners, but they obviously don't focus on their tag team division as much as they did, say, 10 years ago. Rey Mysterio and Evan Bourne were the typical tag team in WCW that you would see, and during the Monday Nitro days where they had an actual Cruiserweight Championship belts. I don't think those lasted too long. But, well, what do you think of the opening of the show?
I really like the way it ended.
Well,
they made Jericho look like he accidentally won and not making it look like he just beat Punk to a pulp like I thought they would do.
Yeah. Well, my first thoughts about this were that Punk was going to get squashed, and I was afraid of that, but they made Punk look pretty strong, even though they actually had Jericho with just barely pulling out a win over CM Punk in the steel cage match, instead of having Jericho just beat Punk silly and retain his title. And of course we had a great ending to Raw, as the HBK Chris Jericho rivalry has not penned its final chapter. We have more on this great storyline continuing, and my fears were that it was going to end at Unforgiven in a pay-per-view nobody cared about. So, Drew, what was your thoughts on this?
Well, it was the best thing going on Raw, and it's really good that they made it come for the championship. I think that's pretty much the only reason why they gave Jericho the belt, because they realized that was the best thing they had going on the show, and they wanted to make it their main event thing.
Well, that's one of the best reasons. That's one of the best things that they can do with this rivalry. I mean, Jericho wouldn't be holding the championship now if they weren't in the hottest rivalry all year, or maybe even the last couple of years. And but the only problem I have with this is I can't really see a real ending for it at No Mercy anyway. It might end at Survivor Series or somewhere up the road. I hope it continues on the Survivor Series, because this deserves a great send-off, not a B show or a C show like Unforgiven and No Mercy. But yeah, I don't really see an ending for this, or No Mercy. If there's no way they can make it end at No Mercy, because you're not going to have Jericho win the rivalry, the last match in the rivalry, but they're not going to take the title of Jericho in a month again, are they? No, Jericho's last reign lasted about a couple of months, and then they squashed him every time he tried to get the title back afterwards. This is his first title reign since about 2002, I believe. 6 years. Ironically, this is also Shawn Michaels. Well, Shawn Michaels has gone an entire 6 years without holding the belt either. Two of the best on the roster right now are just world title dry for the last few years. But you don't see that happening to Triple H or anything. You have to give Triple H credit for keeping himself away from the title for about 2 years. But he can't keep himself away from it forever, and he didn't. Well, also on Raw, we had a nice little promo between 4 men, including my favorite of all time, Santino Marella. And Santino made the promo just hilarious, as he so often does. And you also had Batista and JBL and Randy Orton. Bit of an odd couple of superstars there. Oh, and I forgot about Beth Phoenix. So what was your take on this segment, Drew?
Well, it was a pretty good segment. It was the first time Batista actually entertained me for once, because I just don't find him entertaining. But when Beth Phoenix slapped him in the face, he goes, "Ow!" That was the funniest part of the night for me.
Well, I suppose the funniest part of the night for me would probably be Santino, but Batista's not as entertaining as he once was when he was a heel, when he would just basically destroy anything and anybody that stood in his way. Now he just does that. He just squashes anybody in his way, and I hate to watch Santino get squashed because it just breaks my heart. And then you have him obviously just cut that little babyface promo, and Batista should have turned heel like at least a year ago, about 6, 7, 8 months ago. I mean, he was just... Am I the only one who feels this way? But is Batista just really repetitive and boring? But everywhere I go, I see Batista rules and all this. He's not a great wrestler, and he's not a great promo guy, so why do people like them? Why do people like him, Drew?
Probably because he's just so huge and stuff.
Well, I know that's why Vince McMahon likes him. Because Vince McMahon has an incredible zest for big guys. Batista isn't even a young guy. Am I the only guy who knows that Batista's 40 years old? He's actually older than Triple H. I've actually logged on his Wikipedia page, and I was just shocked to see that the day Triple H turned 39, I just went on to Batista's, and I just saw that he was 40 years old, and it just blew my mind how young he looks. I mean, before that, I would have said it at the highest he would be in his early 30s. Well, we also had a couple of other things on Raw this week, including good old Jim Haas. I know Drew's a big fan of Charlie Haas, the many faces of Charlie Haas. And Vince McMahon doesn't like Charlie Haas as much as Drew does, because Vince finds him very boring. So they have to, Charlie Haas, I'm not the only one who feels this way, but is Charlie Haas like some kind of testing person for all these weird gimmicks that they're trying to force? Like, remember last year, they pulled out the mask from underneath the ring. And he's basically like their test person. And now they're having him come out as a new person every week. Now it's only a matter of time before we see him impersonate, Randy Savage and maybe get a few shots in at him. Because we all know that Vince would love that. And, well, what else really happened on Raw? Well, I guess we could talk about something else. Something I really wanted to touch on, but I didn't think we would have enough time, and we have 2 minutes left. I told you our Raw talk takes about 8 minutes, and it did. So, Drew, what did you think of Jake the Snake Roberts showing up to his show drunk?
Sort of disappointing because he went to rehab on the WWE's money.
Oh, God. We can't just keep telling ourselves that Jake Roberts is going to get help, because he gets help and help and help, and he just resorts back to his old ways. It's just disappointing to see somebody that was idolized so much back in 10, 20 years ago. Now, and also the Sandman showed up to a show drunk like months ago. It's just so hard.
That's a local show for me.
Well, it's just so hard to watch these people who used to entertain us. Now they're just going to house shows, showing up drunk and in the worst of shapes. And Jake really just needs to get into rehab and stay in rehab and just try and change his life for, but he doesn't care enough to do that. He just can't find the willpower to overcome his demons, unfortunately, which really is a shame. Because of stuff like this, it's going to prolong Jake's induction into the Hall of Fame. Well, we only have about a couple of 30 seconds left. Any news you see online, Drew?
Well, you could probably expect Vladimir Kozlov to get a push pretty soon because this man is very high on him.
Are you joking? Vladimir Kozlov is just like the Russian version of Great Khali. I can't stand these big 7 feet guys getting pushes just because they're so big.
I like Kozlov.
You do?
Yeah.
Wow.
His